Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with everybody. VD was almost here, and then he had to back out at the last second, and Marco hasn't. Well, okay, I don't know why I said that. Not everybody's here, but Ashley's here, Kyle's here, and Joe is here. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hi. Hey. Ladies and gentlemen. Lady and gentlemen. Joe, do you feel like you're in the gentleman category?
Nope.
Kind of a bear category, Bear Grylls. Something.
Bear? Yeah. Well, good news. We're going to get started with your updates because it's like
legendary.
Yeah, we're all waiting for it now.
Well, I'm going to disappoint this week because I don't have
They've been getting better and better.
I'll try to make something up. I decided to get new headphones. I posted in the group about a week or so ago, and people gave me some feedback, and I just went with my tried and true, sticking with Bose because I know their sound is good and they are very comfortable. And I know I can't do Apple's plastic headphones because they just hurt after like 20 or 30 minutes. Just not feeling good. And yeah, I was very, very hesitant to go switch to Bluetooth. I don't know why nowadays I try to actually find the same wired in cord headphones because it takes the technology error out of it so much, but they're actually more expensive than getting individual Bluetooth buds. And I was just very baffled by that. So I figured, well, if I'm going to do it, then I might as well pay up for the Bose and get ones that work decently. Because we tried a cheaper pair before and I had to send them back right away.
So Bose, like the noise canceling buds?
I don't know if they noise cancel. Some of them buds they noise cancel. I don't really care if they noise cancel. Yeah, I'm just going to be pumping noise into it. So it's whatever to me. I'll just turn it up. But whatever the individual buds are for them, sport, whatever. They had another one that it's like the lanyard that attaches behind your neck, but I felt like that would get annoying. And if I'm going to pay up for it, I might as well get the individuals. And I also realized that, well, I'm going to have to work out go to a gym once in Bahrain. So I'm going to need music there anyway. And this way I don't have to hold my phone the whole time. So it was for the best.
That's a decent update. It's all right.
And pull-ups have been getting easier now that I have a pull-up bar. So imagine that. I've been adding them after each of my run days. I've been coming in and as my cool down doing 50 pull-ups. And I did them today, and I was like, "Oh, these are getting pretty easy." So I just added another 10. So I'll just keep adding them and see what happens.
Strict?
Yes and no. There's like a tiny kip. It's not like a full kip because before when we put in the pole, it's not secured at all, but it's so wedged in there that it just doesn't spin. Today I was doing like little baby kips, just a little bit, and there's like a little bit of a fraction of a turn. So now they're just becoming a little bit more strict because I just don't want the pole to turn.
That's on the pergola, right?
Yes, the pergola that I only helped about 20% of.
Just had to say that word.
I am not very handy. But owing up to it. I mean, if you really wanted a fun update, I finally trimmed back my mustache because it doesn't block my mouth anymore.
Yeah. Isn't that like, you know how like a whale eats? It just like, it takes in the plankton and it's like mustache.
Because it goes like through its teeth because its teeth are like wiry.
That's like what you had going on.
Yeah. I told Ashley one time that if I were to eat cereal, the mustache would act like a broom and just brush the cereal right off. In case you heard about that.
Yeah.
So now it's not covering my bottom lip, so I can be functional and eat again. Ashley's giving a great grimace right now. See, you wanted a fun update. You guys seemed like you were very bored with my functional actual updates. So Here it is. I brought the noise.
that one, I've been getting used to the new style update, and I like it a lot more.
No, we need all your hygiene updates.
Okay,
I think this is why.
Just,
I think this is why people don't want the YouTube version.
Well,
I mean, they get me on Wednesdays, so it doesn't matter.
It's true.
Well, when I sit here and we do these, I just pretend like you've come back from like being on a desert island, and because that's what you look like with the
I'm
beard.
still there. Kind of.
You look like
Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. Just coming back. All right, Kyle, what do you have going on, man?
Not a lot going on. Just getting back into regular life now after vacation. Vacation was amazing. It was really good.
I was very grumpy on our Monday meeting.
Yeah,
he was very upset to be back.
I didn't really realize that I was grumpy until you guys pointed out that I was grumpy. But anyway, yeah, vacation was very, very good. I am not, turns out, someone who prioritizes training while on vacation. So
even when your wife does.
Even when Hannah does. Yeah. She prioritized it a lot more than I did. We did go for a run together while we were there, so that was fun. Anyway, so after vacation, I got home and we were pulling in the driveway, and there's water flowing down my driveway into my garage. And I was like, where is that water coming from? Please tell me I didn't leave water on while I was gone. But it wouldn't have been in the yard anyway. It turns out the main line from our water meter into our house had busted while we were gone. And so it was just like pouring out of the yard. And so I had to turn the meter off and call a plumber, and spent a few hours. I was up till about midnight with the plumber the night that I got back from vacation.
Welcome back.
Fixing a water line. Yeah. So, nothing like life to remind you why you went on vacation in the first place. But anyway, it was fun. It was a good time.
It was like the second week I moved into this house. My water heater, it's a new house. And when I say new house, like new construction, like house. And the water heater pipe burst and flooded my garage. And
I thought you were going to tell the Graham toilet story. I thought that's what it was.
No, that was different time. But anyway, I've had the garage flood thing happen, and it was not fun because we weren't unpacked either, and so it really just flooded all of our boxes. But that's cool. I like throwing stuff away. Like I don't like stuff, so I just threw it all away. Yeah,
we were fortunate. It wasn't really like we didn't have any indoor damage. There was, there was like a puddle in the garage where it had gotten under the garage door, but there was no indoor damage and nothing had busted on the inside of the house. So that was good. That would have been a much, much worse situation. But
oh yes.
But anyway, so fun times.
Fun times. Ashley, over to you.
My functional medicine doctor appointment has been made, so I get to finally go and do that. So I'm excited to start that journey and have some tests done and see what's going on. But Emily also is, she turned me on to the Hormone Reset Diet. It's a book. And part of it, I think it's like reset number 4, you have to give up caffeine. And I have drank caffeinated coffee since I was 14 years old, and I've never given it up.
That's an early start.
Yeah, my dad always used to do this thing when I was a kid, probably 5, so maybe even longer. Every Saturday, I was able to have coffee, and basically it was just like a little smidge of coffee, and then the rest of the cup was milk. And I used to love coffee Saturdays. So yeah, I'm kind of hooked, but I'm started to cut back. I'm doing half calf as we're speaking. I haven't had any headaches, but I'm trying to keep up with the water intake as well. And I hydrate quite a bit during the day. So I'm hoping I don't get too much of a headache, but it'll probably happen. Maybe I'll get some shakes. I don't know. So maybe next week will be my caffeine withdrawal update. But yeah,
it's the worst.
I am like really mourning this because coffee is like my one thing that I get up in the morning, and before I do anything, I know I want to have my cup of coffee, like with my almond milk, and sip it and do my Bible reading, and then I can start my day. But Gonna have to replace it with warm lemon water. It's not gonna
It's
be
just
the
as
same.
good. Just as good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went off coffee when I moved to North Carolina. My dad and I, we showed up first. He was helping me unpack the house, and I packed a bag of coffee because I knew we would need coffee right away. You wake up that next day, you need coffee. Everything, unpacking the rest of the house, irrelevant. Coffee, very important. And so we were by ourselves for about a week before Emily and the kids showed up and stuff. And my dad and I were like just getting these like massive headaches, and like we didn't know what was going on. We're like, okay, maybe this house has like a gas leak, something bad. We got into this house and now we're having bad headaches and all this stuff. And then I was on a call like down in the basement talking to somebody, and Emily came downstairs with a bag of coffee and a note attached to it and said, "You've been drinking decaf for the last week." And I was like, it was funny too, because my dad and I were like, what's going on? We would drink more coffee. We'd be like, okay, let's have more coffee. So we were drinking like 2-3 cups in the morning, like big cups of coffee. And we're just like,
oh my gosh,
dude, I don't know what's going on. We can't shake it. We can't wake up. Yeah, I'm pretty addicted to coffee myself. I mean, I don't drink a ton. I try to only have a small amount in the morning, but I really don't want to give it up.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. And then my little last thing, and it's kind of for you too, Jared, if you want to try it out. I know you're on this Oura Ring kick. Apple sent out their updates. And so for the new update on the watch, they're adding a sleep app on the watch. So gonna try that out in the fall. We'll see how it goes.
Wait, so that's when it comes out, or already
in the
out?
fall is when the new update happens. It's like
Nice.
iOS 14 or something. And part of it is they're going to add their own sleep app onto the watch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I still have the watch. I use it to work out right now. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yep.
I don't have any updates. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any. Okay. Moving on. Was that a little too...
No, that's fine.
It wasn't friendly. I'm sorry. Life is what it is. My son's doing a football camp right now. I think that's pretty cool. When you get to really like see your kid racked and stacked against other children, it's cool. It's cool to see that, to see if like, is he as good as you think that he is, or is he just not what you think that he is? And
we have to switch to tennis, or are we gonna just keep on?
Right.
Golf.
But so far,
or no,
so
it'd be
good.
racquetball.
He's doing really well, and so it's exciting for me to watch and to have fun doing that. And I don't know if it's just Texas, but people, I mean, so we started this camp, and it's like people just pretend coronavirus is not a thing anymore. And that could just be Texas, but this football is serious in Texas, and this football camp is serious. So a lot of people have signed up for it, a lot of parents, a lot of kids. And I was just noticing yesterday, like all these parents, I don't know, like 100 parents sitting around talking to each other, like no social distancing, just like everything back to normal. The kids are all close together. And I mean, they did some COVID-19 stuff at the beginning. They like take the kids' temperature. They're not allowed to take your temperature because we're not a part of the camp. And then, they had like a COVID-19 questionnaire and stuff. So they took their precautions as an organization, but I don't know. I just wanted to ask you guys, like, how your areas were. So I'm Texas. They don't care. Ashley, how's Florida?
They don't care. Come down to Destin. It's crazy. We went on a bike ride, and the amount of people that are just piled on top of each other on that beach is outrageous. So yeah, they don't care. Everything's open. The restaurants aren't doing the 25% capacity. Like they're pretty much at 100% capacity. And they tried to do outside. And then now as it's getting hotter, restaurants are like, forget it. We'll just everybody sit inside and it'll be fine.
Kyle, how's Tennessee?
Yeah, we haven't cared about it for a while.
I don't think ever, actually.
Yeah, it just hasn't really been a thing. I noticed the same thing at the beach, though, was which we went to Orange Beach, Alabama, and I think it's kind of a secret. I don't think a lot of people know that it exists because it wasn't super crowded at all. But
It's
I don't
not a lake,
think
is it?
it's a big one that's connected to the ocean.
The goals, yeah.
Anyway, there weren't a lot of people there, but it wasn't because of COVID. Like anywhere you go, like people aren't social distancing. Same thing with the restaurants. Like the restaurants were not limiting their capacity. None of that. It was just, it's like it didn't exist. It was just life as normal, which was part of what was so cool about it for me. It was just like people are just back to normal lives. Everything's cool.
Joe, Maryland.
Maryland cares a lot. They still have a lot of restrictions. Just last week, for the very first time, I went to a restaurant and ate indoors. They're just being allowed to do that. And you have to wear a mask. So like,
What? While you eat?
Yeah, exactly. Well, not while you eat, but like in order to get into the restaurant, you have to be wearing a mask. And then once you get to your table and order, you can take your mask off. It is dumb. Actually, my dad went to a restaurant yesterday and he walked in without a mask. And they said you had to have a mask. And he was like, why? I'm about to eat. And he was like, no, you have to have a mask until you start eating. And he's like, well, forget this. And he left because it is pretty dumb.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's very dependent on where you live. Emily's mom, my in-laws, they live in New York, very close to New York City. So it's like we get updates all the time. And I'm like, well, that's like not even something we talk about in Texas anymore. It's just weird to me. It's a strange thing. And I'm not saying this is good or bad for anyone listening out there. I actually only want to talk about science. So let's do that. All right. The study we are covering, we haven't really covered fasting or time-restricted feeding, that much. And it's something that we all do. Is everyone here still doing some form of TRF? Mm-hmm. I know like we've cycled on and off. So the study, I almost didn't want to read the name of the study because it's just the whole thing is like, you just know everything that we're going to talk about. I'm going to read the name of the study and you'll just get it. So you can just turn the podcast off after I read this title. So 4 weeks of time-restricted feeding combined with resistance training does not differentially influence measures of body composition, muscle performance, resting energy expenditure, and blood biomarkers. So they've told you what they do and the results all in the name of the title, which is great.
Like Titanic being labeled Titanic and how it sank.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the gist of the study. So what they did, they had 26 men, and they really just had 2 groups, like a time-restricted feeding group and a normal diet group. And they measured a lot of different stuff. If anybody wants to, a lot of the studies we talk about are not free. You have to buy them, but this one is 100% free, and you can go to the full text link and really dive deep into this one if you want to. I don't think we're going to go that deep in this one, but they did a pretty solid strength training program. They monitored how much protein that they were having and all that good stuff. And the main thing I wanted to look at this study for, and we could talk about some of the details from it, was, is it going to affect what results you see when doing it? Because there are this is a little bit more on the performance side, this study. But if you look at intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, just from a health perspective, because there are studies on inflammation and all these other mechanisms behind fasting, this one's more performance based. So it makes sense to do fasting for a lot of the health benefits. But then athletes and people like trying to gain strength and muscle are a little concerned, like, well, I'm eating less, is this going to affect my performance or my results? And that's kind of where this study picks up. So takeaways.
So I think on the first things that when you said eating less, they were both on the same 25% calorie restriction. So they were still on the same plane. And that's one of the main things that I like to make sure people know is that when time restricted feeding, when they do that, is that you're not skipping meals, you're just squishing them together. So calories were even across the board. So all you're doing is squishing it all together.
Yeah, it was a 25% calorie deficit though, correct? They were trying to eat less than their normal.
I think they both were, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, both groups, but they were trying to promote fat loss by eating less. I just think that that's worth noting because it wasn't like, hey, eat whatever the hell you want, just do it within this window, which is what some people do. Mm-hmm. When they're like, you know what, I'm 6,000 calories in 8 hours. Do it. Well, that still might not work out. So yeah, that's a good point though. What other takeaways?
Yeah, those are the really good ones for that. I was curious if you looked at the actual strength program to see if it actually. I did. Yeah, I'm always curious that some of these when they try and see how fat loss or whatever the goals are, and if they actually get somebody to program something for them to meet it, or they're just like, hey, yeah, go do exercise and we'll see what the results are if they lose fat or not. One thing that I know,
probably just pull it from like a database or something. I doubt someone programs for them.
They did not train fasted though, so that would have been interesting to see because a lot of us do train fasted. However, I'm not sure for strength it would have made much of a difference. Maybe conditioning it would make more of a difference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was cool with how it wasn't just, they didn't just take the performance markers and fat mass and non-fat mass or whatever it was, but they also looked at hormone levels. And I think hormone levels was really, really cool to dive into. I'm not sure how deep Ashley wanted to go into that, but I just noticed that plasma cortisol went up for the non-fasted group, and the fasted group, it actually went down.
And that's like contrary to what you would think or have heard. I've even heard, some people say that fasting puts your body in like an alarm state, right?
Yeah, that's what you think. I mean, it's stress. So if you're stressing any kind of new stress to your body, I would think you would think it would raise, but it actually was the opposite.
So did they talk about, were they fasted prior to, like, have these people practiced this before, or were they just like 26 men and they said, hey, you're going to be fasted and you're going to be, because that would also be a thing to look at if they were potentially doing some sort of TRF before this, because then that makes sense to me that their cortisol didn't change.
I think their experimental design had more to do with their training. I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't know what their screening process was. If they did.
Right. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was more of like along the lines of they talked a lot about the protein intake, and that was important for them. And so for TRF, like, as long as you have that amount of protein, which we have, I swear we've hit this nail on the head so many times, protein is important. And if you get the right amount of protein, you'll be just fine. And so I think my takeaway for garage gym athletes and for myself is, well, then why are you doing time restricted feeding? Is that, you can get the same goals. You can have fat loss here. They showed that you can gain lean muscle mass here, even if you're not time restricted feeding. But is there something else that is like an underlying issue? For example, any sort of gut health, any sort of digestive problems, So you kind of have to say, for me, time restricted feeding works. I know I feel awful if I eat earlier, if I break my fast earlier than what I normally do. So that was my big takeaway from this whole thing was, what's your why behind intermittent fasting?
Yeah. And people ask me that all the time. Some people think that you're just chasing fads, right? And I've tried a lot. I'd say I've experimented, broken my routine a lot over the last year. Because I started fasting a very long time ago, and I just had always done it. And then I'd also was lower carbohydrate. And then over the last, let's say 2 years, I experimented with going high carb for a while. I'm just like, you know what? I train a good amount. I'm very active. Like I'm not really scared of carbohydrates. Like I don't think they're the devil like low carb advocates do, or keto, or, I tried that. I tried keto and I didn't enjoy that. I also didn't enjoy high carb. I tried not fasting. I tried eating first thing in the morning, and trying all these things over the last 2 years, really the last 6 months, 3 months, I've just come 100% back to what I was doing before all that. And that is relatively low carb, not keto, not anywhere close. It's just lower carbohydrate with fasting at least 16 hours per day. And the only thing I'm chasing is mental acuity or mental clarity. That's my only marker. I don't care about my back squat. I don't care about how fast I run, because those metrics I measure all the time. And if there was some significant drop in performance, I think I would notice it. But I don't think the diet can do that to you that much, other than keto seems to like jack me up pretty good. But that's the only thing I'm chasing. I want to be able to think clearly from when I wake up until I go to sleep. And I found this is what works for me. So I'm, low carb and fasting because of personal experience. Does that work for everybody? Probably not. But it works for me.
I found the parameters for the people. So they had to have engaged in resistance training 2 to 4 times a week for the past 6 months. And all participants had not undergone any significant weight loss in 6 months prior to enrollment, and were not currently practicing any TRF protocols. So none of them were already doing it.
I wonder if it was the deficit that might have changed it. I don't know.
And here's what, I mean, okay, let's just look at this study big picture. And all it's really proving is that you can fast and still see results. Because what they did is they took two different groups of people, one with a normal diet, one on a fasting protocol, and they put them at a 25% caloric deficit, and they put them on a training program, and if you look at the actual charts of like results, they're almost identical. I mean, they're real close in both groups. And so all it's really saying, it's not saying like, fasting is amazing and way better than a normal diet. And it's also not the opposite of that. It's just saying you can fast and still see the same results as a normal diet as far as muscle hypertrophy, so muscle growth is concerned, and strength is concerned, along with like 7 other parameters that they have in here, resting energy expenditure, muscle performance, blood biomarkers, psychometric parameters, just all these things. So they were basically the same. So I'm not saying you have to fast either. If you like your normal diet, do your normal diet. You could obviously still see results with a normal diet. All right. Anybody have anything else? Yeah. I do think the protein is a big deal. But so I've been looking into the protein thing a lot more. And I think I mentioned it last podcast. It seems that magic number is about 35 grams of protein, and the leucine content matters. We've talked about this on podcasts, getting the right amount of leucine and protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. But it's also like, if you get above 35, like if you have 80 grams of protein, or let's just say 70, you don't get twice as much muscle protein synthesis at 70 as you do 35. 35 is like maxes it out. And 35 grams of protein maxes out your muscle protein synthesis or close to it. So any protein above that is kind of irrelevant. So I do see why people think that eating like every 2 hours, like that theory that was around for a long time, is important to try and constantly stimulate that muscle protein synthesis. But what this study is kind of revealing is that when you exercise hard or do resistance training, your body is looking for that stimulation for like 48 hours. It's not this like window, this small window of recovery and repair. Your body needs that protein in whatever amounts for very long periods of time. Now, I do know, to go even further, there are some people who eat like one meal a day, like one really giant meal a day, and then the rest of the time they're fasting. I think that would affect things significantly if they tested it, but I don't think a lot of our listeners are probably doing that, so we don't need to worry about it. But just mechanically, I don't think it would work. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the topic. So we had a book of the month that I don't even know if we announced to anybody. Did we? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't announce it.
It's kind of like everybody. For July, so we're just reviewing it ahead of time, I think. Maybe. I forgot how that works. Yeah. But it'll be announced after this.
Who knows? Go read the book. It's Make Your Bed by McRaven, right? Admiral McRaven. Pretty good book. It was a speech in the commencement ceremony at University of Texas at Austin.
The UT.
The UT.
Stop it. We don't have time to go into that.
I'm from Texas, so I hear UT. I don't not even for a second think of Tennessee. And I'm sure you feel the same way about Texas. Hey, just so you know, Ashley and I went to Texas Tech. We're not like UT fans sitting here. So if you want to bash on University of Texas at Austin, go for it. I will join you. Okay. I don't know where I was going at. The book. Okay. It's a good book. It was a speech, and then he turned it into a book. And it's a good book. But let's get into takeaways of the book.
So I like the book because he gives examples of stuff that happened in his lifetime, and then he kind of breaks each chapter down into like how to help you. So the book is small, just kind of like I feel like it's just all ties in together. Like his thing is small task, small change can change the world is what his, the front of the book it says. And then for me, 4 and 5 were my two favorite chapters, I would say. So 4 talks about that life's not fair and kind of get over it. And 5 talks about that your failures can make you stronger. And it kind of ties in with your whole killing comfort, Jared, to me. But an example of this was he talks about his failure with him and his partner, his training partner, and they had to do flutter kicks, and it in turn made them stronger. So they, at the very end of their training, were able to actually outswim their other guys that were in the SEAL team or trying out for SEAL team. And he said that, that it just made them stronger in turn. Like they couldn't even see the second group behind them kind of thing, that they were so much stronger. And I think that speaks volumes to life in general. An example that I have of that was my husband, Scott. He has two very, very different deployment stories. His first deployment, he made a mistake and he had to be sent home early, which was kind of drastic, and kind of made him kind of lose his confidence. And especially being a fighter pilot, I feel like confidence is a huge thing. Like you have to be confident in that jet and make good decisions, smart tactical decisions. And bragging on my husband a little bit, he didn't just quit. He didn't just lay down and say, I'm terrible, I'm the worst pilot because of this one mistake. He then learned from it and then applied what he learned and turned around, went on another deployment. And it was one of the most epic deployments he's ever been on, kind of thing. And, did the Lord's work kind of thing. But, and then my other takeaway from this was he talked about being a sugar cookie. And that is more of, like life's not fair, get over it. And I love that we're all going to have a sugar cookie moment. And he'll explain it to you in the book once you read it, but basically like they make you get in the sand and get all dirty and wet and nasty. Even if you did something good, they're like, whatever, get in the sand and, I'm not going to praise you for the good thing you did. It's just a tactic that they used. And it's meant to show you that if you persevere, if you keep pushing on, that's where the change is going to be. Like, it's not just going to be handed to you, and not everyone is going to praise you for all the good things that you do. So I really, really enjoyed this book.
Yeah, it was a good book.
So if you've seen the video of the commencement speech, it's got like over 11 million views on YouTube. It's a big deal. A lot of people have really praised it, and it's gone really far. Basically what he does with the book is he just expands all of the points that he made in the speech. What I liked about the speech was that it was a short speech. Like, I like that. But he conveyed a lot of really useful information in a short amount of time that was very actionable. And then with the book, he's basically just expanding each point with one short story from his SEAL training, to kind of illustrate what he means with that. So it kind of has a bit of a Jocko vibe, but it's not as expansive as Jocko. But he's also basically saying a lot of the same stuff that Jocko says. You know what I mean? A lot of the, being disciplined and life is not fair, get over it. Things like don't ever quit. These are all things that Jocko says too, but he put it even more concisely. And I actually really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the expanded stories of kind of understanding, because I had seen the speech before, but just kind of understanding the context of each of his points. Because in the speech, he's not like point one, this, and point two, this. It's just kind of, you can kind of tell, where he's transitioning to a new point, but he's not like very emphatic about it. But hearing those expanded stories of kind of the context of the point he's trying to make with each point was really beneficial for me. But I think what I pulled from it more than anything was, I think what he was trying to get across is that that you need to do these things so that you can help other people, so that you can make the world a better place. Like making yourself better and being disciplined it's not as much about you doing things for you as it is you being solid for other people. And that's kind of where he goes with all of his points. But starting your day by making your bed, starting your day with a completed task is just a small thing that you can do to stay disciplined so that you can be on point for everybody else. It's like, what Ashley was saying about not going it alone, of having a partner. He's not saying you need a partner to get you through life. He's saying you need a partner not just to help you, but so that you can help them. That's how a partnership works. And it's the example he's using of his swim buddy, in SEAL training is, you guys are looking out for each other. You guys are helping each other. You guys go through the whole thing together. If one of you messes up, both of you get punished. That's just how it goes. And the daring greatly is chapter 6, and rising to the occasion and standing up to bullies and never quitting. Like these things, it's not just doing these things for yourself, but of serving other people. And I think he does a really good job of pointing out that serving other people makes you a better person and makes you as good as you can be. So that's what I enjoyed about it. That's what I took away from it.
I'll just go real quick for the two that I liked was Make Your Bed was definitely one about building habits and making small changes that will turn into bigger changes. So just doing it a little bit every day, like any kind of change or thing you want to make a difference in your own life, just start small. It makes it more doable, more bearable at first. And then the standing up to bullies is the other one that I like because I think there's times you really need to stand up and push back to people. Don't always be a yes man is kind of also how I take it to, some people are always going to be in power and think they can always just push people around. But I think you need to stand your ground sometimes. And that can be whether it's voicing your concern about something or doing what's right or whatever it is. But sticking to your guns and standing up to people can really help. Nobody remembers the yes man.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good book. So the origin of its popularity, I think, goes back to Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss was talking about in his podcast a long time ago that he had heard Admiral McRaven talk about making your bed as the first thing that he needs to do every morning. And to be honest, I think Tim Ferriss is what made this blow up because, Admiral McRaven doesn't have an audience. Like people do commencement speeches every single year. You don't hear most of them, right? Not that it wasn't a good speech, but Tim Ferriss talked about how changing or making his bed every day, like changed his life. And then I think this just exploded everything else. And I think the starting your day with a task completed, I don't think that making your bed serves any real important purpose. You know what I mean? Like the actual making your bed portion of it. Cause I don't make my bed any morning because I'm normally the first one out of it and I'd have to start making it with Emily in it, and
tucking this in.
Yeah. Hey, I need to start my day with a completed task. So I just, I actually, when I saw this, I kind of ignored it at first because I saw it many years ago because that's what I thought. I'm like, really? I'm not gonna start making my bed first thing in the morning. Like I got other stuff to do. Like, but I think doing something is the point. And that's what I do 100% agree with. Whether it's a morning routine, 50 push-ups, a cold shower, a workout, whatever, there's like a no-fail item that you execute right at the beginning of your day, I think is really, really important. Because I did try it, the make your bed thing, and I was like, I don't feel any different making my bed. Like, I feel better doing something else. I feel better like if I do like 50 push-ups, like as soon as I get out of my bed or whatever, So I think starting your day with a task completed is really important. And that was probably my favorite one. All of them, I think they're all good. They're all like, I don't think anybody would agree with his 10 points. And in the book itself, if we're talking about a review of the book, I agree with Kyle. I think I like the book better because I watched the speech and then I also listened to the book on Audible. I like the book way better because of the stories. The stories are just so much more in depth, and it's always good to hear a good story. And he has really good stories, really awesome stories just from his career and everything else. But I think it's a really great book that people should dive into. I kind of get burnt out. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if this offends anyone with the whole Navy SEAL thing in general. Like, if you have that title, like it apparently qualifies you to do anything, and it doesn't really matter what, like
top podcast right away.
Yeah. Right. Like a Navy SEAL is a trained warrior. They kill people. They're not physically elite, like a professional athlete. They're not even close to professional athlete status, but they are really elite. Other than that, they are trained warriors, and we all know what warriors need to do. But, being a Navy SEAL apparently qualifies them for everything else. So I always, anytime Navy SEAL pops up and like in my face, I'm like, okay, well, let's dive into it. But he was an admiral. This dude is like the top of the military, like vast military experience and someone that you should listen to. There probably aren't a lot of people other than maybe me and Joe who feel like the burnt out on the Navy SEAL title. But there's a big difference between someone who was a Navy SEAL for 2 years, punched out after that, and then, wrote a book and we're all supposed to read it. I think that because that happens quite a bit, and people are just trying to really hold on to that title and promote themselves in other ways. But I think Admiral McCraven, super respectable dude, and has done a lot of amazing stuff over his career, and someone we should all take something away from. Now on to the workout.
Okay, so this week's workout is Stairway to Heaven, and it's a good one. So just get ready for that. So part one, it comes in 3 parts. Part one is a 20-minute EMOM of box step-ups. And you're going to do, this is a 20-inch box. And so for competitors, you're going to start with 20 box step-ups every minute on the minute with a 40-pound vest. Established, you're going to start at 18 reps with a 30-pound vest. And recruits, you're going to start at 16 reps with a 20-pound vest. And so the point is to complete your 20 or 18 or 16, your number of reps every minute on the minute for the 20 minutes. If you can't sustain that pace for 20 minutes, then you knock the reps down to 2 reps and you start over. So ideally, you only have to do it once. So you start at your number and you go through 20 minutes. So after you're done with that 20-minute EMOM, you rest for 3 minutes. Then you do another 20-minute EMOM and you're backing the weight down. So competitors, you're going to back down to a 20-pound vest. And you're going to keep the same rep number that you did for the first one. And so if you ended at 18 or you ended at 12 or whatever, that's where you stay for the rest of it. You do another 20-minute EMOM and you rest for 3 minutes. And then at the end, you take the vest off. And you have a 20-minute time cap to complete either 400 step-ups if you're a competitor, 300 step-ups if you're established, and 200 if you're a recruit. So 3 20-minute blocks of box step-ups, which is a lot. A little bit of rest in there.
There you go.
Yeah. If you think you're going to get rest during the EMOM, you're not. It's like
Nope.
5 seconds.
No. Don't expect to get any rest except for the 6 minutes we programmed for you. That's the only rest you should be expecting. I would say, as my tip for this workout is, first of all, pray before you start, and second of all, definitely warm up. Get your hips warmed up for this one. Don't just go into this one cold. You'll warm up fast, but you'll
warm up with like 200, 250
yourself.
box jumps or box step ups before you get started.
Yeah, I would say be nice and loose for that. Jared has to tag his sarcasm.
Yeah, well, just in case. I tried warming up with 250 box step ups before Stairway to Heaven.
And now I can't walk. So.
Yeah.
I say for this, also pick your height accordingly. Like if you're normally jumping on a 24-inch if you're a male and 20-inch if you're a female, or high or whatever, I would even go lower than that. I would not. I don't know. I definitely pick the box accordingly, pick the height accordingly, and then scale down without getting the ego hurt. So if you're going to, for me, I think I've done it with a 20-pound vest, which I don't know what that is female wise, because the 40-pound is for everybody, or is it just for males? Let's clarify this.
It doesn't look like it's noted.
It is not noted.
It just says competitor. So
yeah. So I
if
guess
you're a competitor, you do 40.
Done this the recruit way, and it's fine. But again, do something that you can do for that amount of time. It's 60 minutes of total work here. So
yeah, the height thing is important. I'd say to choose your right height for your height. I'm about 5'11", and I do a 20. So when you're putting your foot on a box flat, your leg, the leg that's on top of the box should be at about 90 degrees, not higher than 90 degrees, because then you're going to be leaning forward. It's going to be a little back for your hips, and you're going to be pushing off of your bottom leg. You want to be pulling with your top leg. So choose your height, adequately. And even if you have to stack plates, like that's pretty simple to do. I'd say, and Jared's probably going to disagree with this, scale from the beginning.
Yeah, I would disagree.
Yeah.
Just because how I programmed it was intentional, and you're like giving away the secret.
He's basically making you a sugar cookie for this workout, and that's how it works. So bring it full circle. But yeah, be prepared to knock it down a little bit.
Yeah, my advice is just read the workout and then go in with whatever size ego you have and attempt it at however hard and badass you think that you are. Just go ahead and do that, and we'll just see what happens. That's the advice of that workout. For me. Yeah, I got nothing else. I would say on Stairway to Heaven, this is not a workout tip, but if you plan to do any kind of Spartan race, marathon, whatever, and you want to get prepared for it without really maybe don't have trails around or whatever, do Stairway to Heaven. And I'm not kidding. Throw it into your training like maybe once a week. I wouldn't do it a week out leading to the event, but get it in there a couple times before your event, because that step up motion of the hip flexors is generally what goes first in those, as I massively experienced in the Spartan race we did together. And you guys all beat me to the car by like a half an hour. You remember that? Because I couldn't walk, and you guys were just like, screw you guys, way too slow.
I remember Ashley and I got to the top of the stairs and we turned around and Jared's walking backwards because he can't walk forwards.
Dude, I've never had pain like that. And I don't know why. When we got back home, I was fine. I've never had something like that happen. And that's when I was like, was that my brain? Was that mental pain? Like, was that not a real thing that was just happening? But yeah, anyway. mine was jacked up after that too. And, but
yeah, I think you were walking sideways.
Yeah.
So we had a sideways walker and a backways.
I tried it all. I tried backwards. I tried karaoke. I tried everything. Nothing really made it feel that much better.
Joe and I got to the car and we're like, we don't have the keys. Like, why did we get to the car first?
Luckily, we found a heater to stand by.
True.
Yeah. So if you don't want to experience that, do Stairway to Heaven. But that's it. That's it for this podcast. If you guys are interested in training with us, now really is the perfect time. So the day this is published is the first day of the new cycle. You can do lots of things right now. You can see sample programming if you go to garagegymathlete.com/2020. So 2020, garagegymathlete.com/2020. There is a little button right there. We don't want your email address or anything. I'm pretty sure you just click it and boom, sample programming is yours. You can see every track, at least a week's worth of training per track. So if you've been interested in training with us, you can get the full sample there. And if you are already training with us and you didn't know that was available, it is available to you right now. If you want to make sure you're on the right track, you can kind of see, hey, which track should I be on? And so do that. And if you are like, yes, this is awesome, we make it pretty easy from there. garagegymathlete.com, hit the start button, select your membership option, and then let's go. Everyone else who's already training with us, PR week, Fit Week is awesome. We have a lot of new cool things that we're doing with our reward system that has been published at this point. As at the time of you hearing this, it's been published, and lots of good stuff. So thanks everybody for sticking around, and we look forward to another cycle with all of our athletes. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.